Motorcycles are fast, right? They're for racing around demolishing lines of traffic, wearing the chicken strips down on every corner, and showing your buddies how long you can sustain a wheelie. If it ain't got 120 horsepower and trick suspension, it's not worth riding. Speed limits are for sissies. So how come, pottering along, dodging potholes at 20 miles an hour, on a 26 horsepower relic from the late Cretaceous, can be so engaging? Today was a beautiful, warm weekday, perfect for exercising the Panther. I've been looking on Google Maps and found some backroads that I didn't know well. There weren't too many other people clogging up the roads. It seemed an ideal time to spend the morning on the bike before it got too hot. I'm not fond of the heat. Once it gets above 30 Celsius, I'd rather not ride. This little stretch of road around Wolf Lake is popular for its tight curves and lake views. But this careful person ahead prevented me from exploring the Panther's phenomenal power and handling through the bends. I was heading for the tiny hamlet of Burridge, and then for some cottage roads between Bob's Lake and the highway north. There's a lot of lakes in this area, and the roads don't always go where you hope they might. I do a lot of stopping to fiddle with the cameras. This time, since I was on a bit of a hill, I let the bike roll instead of kicking it to life. Eventually the paved road gave way to gravel, the trees closed in, and the potholes started to appear. Even though I'm wearing the camera on my chest harness, it still shakes around a bit, for which I'm sorry. Buy enough of my books, and eventually I might be able to buy one of those fancy GoPros with flawless image stabilization. So as not to completely bore you, I'm going to condense a lot of miles by clipping the video. Every time you notice a fade between scenes, just know that we skipped quite a few miles. I'll mostly be cutting out the bouncy bits. Because of all that water, the road wiggles around quite a lot. There are countless side roads and cottage roads, most of which end in dead ends. Guess how I found that out? Despite the vastness of the lakes, it's astonishingly difficult to get a decent view, unless you happen to own a shoreline property. Nevertheless, I did find this pleasant little spot, and spent a few moments looking for turtles and frogs amid the pond lilies. The Panther almost always starts first or second kick, whether it's hot or cold, which is no bad thing when you're off on a little bush adventure. The trouble was, I wasn't entirely sure that the road I was on actually ended up in the direction I wanted to be heading. Still, I had a full tank of fuel, I was in no particular hurry to get anywhere, and the bike was chuffing along beautifully. I suppose you could ride these roads faster, A modern adventure bike might smooth out the road irregularities, feel a little more secure in the corners. Heck, it might even allow you to drift the rear wheel if you remember to switch off the ABS. But to what end? So the ride would be over more quickly? So you wouldn't have to look at all those blasted trees? For the adrenaline rush? I was getting plenty of dopamine just humming along at 20 or 30 miles an hour, content to pull over whenever I felt like it. There was no point getting out my phone to see where I was on Google Maps. There's no cell service in this part of eastern Ontario. I knew the road would take me somewhere, and I was happy to find out where that somewhere was.
I'll get the earplugs for you in a second. Hello, baby. Hello, baby. Hi. Yeah. Does this, fine, thanks. Does this go through to 38?
Yes, it does.
Oh, excellent.
How do you want to get on 38? Do you want to go? If you go down here.
And at this point the helpful gentleman gave me a complicated series of instructions, the main gist of which was, turn right at the next main intersection, then follow your nose. A few more miles, I hit the paved road, then a little further on, the highway. Although the Panther will plug along with the rest of the traffic, it's not really its thing. And after about 20 minutes I was happy to turn off onto the Zealand Road, which winds past old farms and abandoned fields. In the days of subsistence farming, you might have been able to survive, but any farming still going on here is supported by wage jobs elsewhere. Still, it's pleasant country with a low roll to the land and a few swamps and wetlands in the hollows. I like swamps. Swamps and wetlands are full of life and interest. How far could I paddle up this creek if I had a canoe? How many frogs and water snakes are hiding amid the pond lilies? And some poor snapping turtle had climbed out to lay her eggs in the road gravel, only for them to become skunk or raccoon food. I wasn't done with wetlands yet. I pulled off down another side road to see if any of the water lilies were in flower in a little swamp that I knew. Yes, they were. Thousands of them. As I dropped off the edge of the plateau into the village of Westport, I was riding down an old geological fault line. I could see Westport Pond in the foreground and Big Rideau Lake in the distance, part of the Rideau Canal system of waterways. Westport is a pleasant little village that's quiet during the winter, but gets quite busy during the summer vacation season. Entering the village, I hit heavy traffic. The first traffic I'd seen all morning, which made me realize how incredibly lucky I am to have quiet roads, more or less on my doorstep. Please subscribe, click like or dislike, and feel free to comment. I usually respond. And as usual, all my motorcycle books are available on Amazon and Audible in paperback, digital, and audiobook formats. Search for Nick Adams Motorcycle, so I don't get confused with another guy with the same name who writes about right-wing politics. That ain't me. Thanks for watching.